Hey guys, saw a video on YouTube and it was entitled Active Shooter at Fort Whatever. So it was this week's gun nut story from America, and it was the one at the Air Force Base. Now, nothing unusual there. People being shot in America is a fairly common occurrence. 30,000 a year. What's that? 600 a week. So it's a one every few minutes. So there's nothing new there. But I'd never seen active shooter before. So in the title it said active shooter at Fort whatever. Active shooter. So I had a look at the story and then was curious. So Googled active shooter just to see if there was any other references to it. And of course there was many, wasn't there? And it just felt like, for me, it just felt like tragedy after tragedy unfolding there, because the first thing was to realize that these occurrences have become so common in the US that they're now given it a catchy little name. You know, in most countries, when someone goes nuts and shoots lots of people with a gun, that's how it gets reported. Madman goes crazy with a gun and shoots lots of people, or lots of people murdered by crazy lunatic with a gun, or it's described as what it is. Most countries, it's not that common that you actually have a trendy little name for it. And active shooter as a name for it is just so... there's just something wrong with that. I don't know if it's because it sounds like a video game. You know, hey, let's play active shooter. Yeah, I really like playing active shooter on the weekend. It sounds like a video game. And also, it just seems so... there's just something about it. It just seems so, more than clinical, it's just sort of dehumanized it. You know, people murdered by lunatic with a gun describes what's actually happening. Active shooter. What the fuck? It's just so wrong. It just seems so wrong to call it that, and that it's become such a common event that, you know, you've had to have a trendy little name for it. So already I'm thinking, I cannot believe it. You know, the inner humanity, and the reason this stuff gets to me is that any human being with any ounce of compassion at all, when they hear stories of other human beings being killed by assholes with guns, anybody who doesn't feel something when they hear that has some really serious issues themselves, really, because that's just the inhumanity involved is just terrible. So already I'm thinking, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it's this common, that this is how they address it now, that they're giving it a catchy little name, how inhumane the name is, and impersonal and cold and bloody almost frivolous the name is, active shooter. And then, because I'm getting you know, a million hits from Google for the words active shooter, and then I start to go through them and have a look at them, and it just gets worse and worse. You know, all these institutions, schools and institutions and companies and everybody who have all this information about how to deal with an active shooter incident in your school. Holy fuck. Really? This is the way a supposedly civilized society is dealing with the issue. Let's not solve the problem. Let's tell the innocent people how to deal with this situation when it happens to them. And it's that common that they need to address it. How many civilized countries in the world do they have in their health and safety manual? Do they have a section on active shooters? What the fuck? You know, what a way to deal with it. Instead of solving the problem of all the assholes with the guns, let's tell the innocent people how to react. And so it's getting worse and worse, isn't it? Okay, here's the instructions for the innocent people on how to react when some lunatic is running around their school or their workplace with a gun. Okay, bad enough already. And then when you read the information that's there, run and hide, it says. Run away, hide. Great, that's great. And then if you have no other alternative, fight. Okay, so you get cornered in a broom cupboard or something by some lunatic with a gun, and So okay, you can't get away, so now's the time to try and fight for your life. And you know how that's probably going to end up, don't you? And of course, the fucking gun nuts all say, oh, so the solution is to hand out more guns. So all these innocent people at their workplaces and at their schools should have guns. So when the active shooter comes to their workplace this week, that they can defend themselves with guns. You know? Fucking hell. It's got to be the only country in the world that is in this downward spiral of violence and guns, thinking that the answer to this gun violence is more guns. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. No matter what your feelings on Obama are, watching him after every one of these active shooter incidents, you could see his frustration, couldn't you? Because, you know, he's trying to be diplomatic and he's trying not to upset the gun nuts. But you could see what he wanted to do. He wanted to get rid of all the fucking guns. And it wasn't some great fucking conspiracy so he could take over the country. It was because he's got sick of watching all these innocent people getting murdered by cunts with guns. It's just bullshit. The arguments, the pathetic arguments given by the gun nuts about why they should have a gun are just fucking way outweighed, a million times outweighed by all these innocent people dying. It's just bullshit. You know, at some stage in the future, when America finally changes its laws and gets rid of all the guns, crush all the guns that are out there already, stop handing out the guns, change all the laws, only people that really need to have a gun can have a gun. That would be cops, that would be people escorting large amounts of money, that would be the military, and that would be it. And all the other pathetic fucking arguments about tyrannical governments and everybody else is all bullshit, because Billy Bob and his gun is not going to stop the government and their drones anyway. And saying you need a gun for self-defense is all bullshit as well. The reason this is such a problem, and then, you know, all I've got going through my head at the moment is all the fucking gun nut arguments. I've seen them all, because these videos really attract gun nuts like fucking moths to a flame. You know, oh, baseball bats kill people too. Are you going to outlaw baseball bats? Yeah, well, we don't have dudes going to schools killing 20 people with a baseball bat, do we? And this is the problem, is that the dweeby little fucking loser, any dweeby little loser with a finger can kill people with a gun. And this is the problem, is that the same argument that these losers that were bullied at school give for owning a gun is the same reason these dweeby little losers can go around killing people with guns. Because anybody with a finger can kill people with a gun. And that's the difference. And it's become such a part of the downward spiral in the US now that it's always an option. If your life becomes not worth living anymore, it's always an option to go get your gun, because everyone's got a fucking gun. Go get your gun, go down to the local school and kill some people, or go to work and kill everybody at work. Or it's become an option. It's become something because they're seeing it all the time on TV, and it's become such a fucking active shooter. I might be an active shooter. I might take that up as a hobby. So when they have a bad day, can't cope with it anymore, they get their gun, go to work or go to school and shoot everybody. Whereas if they didn't have a gun in the cupboard, they're not going to go and get a baseball bat and do it. Because their dweeby little ass is going to walk in the door with a baseball bat, and the first competent male that they come across, or female, that they come across is going to take the baseball off them, stick it up their ass and send them on their way. You know, this is so logical to most of the world. Most human beings can listen to this logic and say, well, yeah, sure, it makes sense. You know, it's just a real shame that a great country like the US can be dominated by idiots. You know, idiots and selfish fuckwits. It's selfish. The ultimate thing is all this bullshit about my right to have a fucking gun, my right to have a fucking gun. That's selfish bullshit. Have a look at all these innocent people, 30,000 innocent people dying a year. Okay, and always get the gun out and say, oh, a percentage of them are suicides. Yeah, how many people would suicide if they didn't have a gun? That's the other thing. In a moment of depression, pulling your trigger on a gun and killing yourself is a much easier thing to do than all the other alternatives. How many of those people killing themselves with guns would kill themselves in another way? It's only a moment of depression, pull a trigger, bang. Whereas if you've got to go and get a rope and tie it up and jump down from a tree or some other form of suicide, then there's a good chance that you're going to lose the nerve or have a bit of time to think about it and talk yourself out of it. All you need is a second with a finger on a trigger, and you've got a dead person. So, as far as I'm concerned, whether it's by suicide or by murder, death by gun is the same fucking thing. You know, if there wasn't a gun in that house, then that person wouldn't be dead. Good chance that person wouldn't be dead. The other thing is that knives, knives, what are you going to do? Ban knives? Well, again, same argument, you fucking idiots. 20 or 30 people, no one's going to go to a school or a workplace with a knife and kill 20 or 30 people. They might try, and they do try. They do try. Now and again that does happen around the world, but all it takes is one person to hit them with a mop or hit them with a broom or something, get the knife off them, and it's the end of the story. The other thing is that statistically your chances of surviving a knife wound are a lot higher than surviving a gunshot. There's no fucking argument. If there was a logical, reasonable argument for every dickhead having a gun, we'd all do it. Different countries love following America. Australia follows America fucking to death. Well, anything America does, Australia does too. And lots of countries are the same. They follow America, and a lot of the stuff that they follow is really, really good stuff. But who follows the gun thing? Countries all around the world are copying a lot of the things that America does, but some of the things they don't follow include the gun thing. If it was such a fucking brilliant idea, countries all around the world would be saying, fuck, geez, look at America. Look at America, no crime at all, no violence at all. We should copy them, and we should have guns too. And because at this stage we always get the gun nut saying, yeah, but America's different. America's different from all the other countries. Really? What's different? Oh, it's not homogenous like Japan. No, well, neither is Australia. The population of Australia is comprised of a mix just the same as America is. These days, in the modern world, lots of countries are comprised of mixes. This whole argument that America's different, bullshit. Bullshit. All the people that are in America, except for the Native Americans, all came from the same places that all the people in Australia came from. All the people, the world is not, America's one group of people and the rest of the world's different. No. Oh no, but we've got our constitution says we can have guns. Yeah, well, yes. 280, 380, whatever, 300 years ago, somebody said that it was a great idea that you have guns. Yeah, well, maybe it's time to evolve. Were those dudes that wrote that constitution the last intelligent Americans? Really? I don't think so. I think surely there's enough intelligent Americans now that you can rewrite your fucking constitution. It was an amendment, right? It can be amended. It can be changed, right? You can change it. You have changed it. Not everybody in America is allowed to have guns. Felons aren't allowed to have guns. Well, is that against your constitution? Apparently not. You can stop felons having guns. Well, how about stopping anybody that doesn't need a gun from having a gun? If you've got a farm and you really need guns to control feral animals or something, well, have some appropriate weapon for that and have a license for it. And have it kept in a locked cabinet when you're not using it for that specific purpose, and don't be taking it to town in the back of your truck because you've got no real reason to have it there. Nobody needs assault weapons. Nobody needs automatic, semi-automatic pistols. Nobody needs fucking pistols. Who needs a fucking pistol? Except for cops. Oh yeah, the cops in the military so that they can take over with a tyrannical government. No, the cops need guns because now and again you do get Billy Bob go crazy with a knife or with a fucking baseball bat, and they might need a gun to get him under control or kill him. Yes, it's what happens, and the military's the same. Yes, military have guns. It's not part of a big conspiracy to fucking take over with a tyrannical government, you fucking clowns. It's just so frustrating. I get so pissed off with this that I just cannot believe that America is dominated by fucking idiots. When you've got so many smart people in that country, and the problem is, it's not the idiots and the selfish arseholes that are dying because of the guns. The arseholes and the selfish arseholes and the selfish idiots are the ones holding the fucking guns, not the ones being killed by them. You know, how about the rights of people not to have to worry about a fucking active fucking shooter in their workplace? You've got to be kidding. Talking about people's rights. How about the right to be able to live your life without worrying about being shot, like we have here in Japan? Or like even in Australia, your chances of being shot in Australia are pretty remote. I can't imagine many workplaces in Australia have got an active shooter chapter to their fucking workplace health and safety handbook. What a lot of bullshit, man. That's an embarrassment. I used to feel that when I used to watch Obama after these mass shootings, and he'd get up in front of the press and he'd talk, and you could just see he was just fucking over it. And it'd be embarrassing to be the president of a country that claims to be, you know, a leader of the free world and a leader of human rights and all these things, to stand up as the leader of that country, you know, yet again, you know, because there's been another mass shooting by some fuckhead with a gun, you know? I could feel his embarrassment. I could feel his embarrassment and his frustration that he was leading a country that would allow that to happen. And allow it to happen again and again and again. And that was his frustration, wasn't it? That he had to keep getting up and making, you know, oh geez, it was really bad. And then let's not do anything about it. You know, what country has a problem that 30,000 citizens a year are killed and do nothing about it? You know, a couple of thousand people get killed by terrorism and people go to war over it. You know, if one American citizen is killed by a terrorist, that's enough to cause all sorts of dramas, isn't it? And yet 30,000 Americans a year are shot by Americans, and that's just sort of accepted by the gun nuts as being, oh well, it's part of our rights. And you can be sure as hell that those assholes that are going on about being their right and how important it is that they be able to have their gun and everything else, you can be damn sure that none of their family members have ever been killed by an asshole with a gun. Your attitude would change if that happened, wouldn't it? If you had an active shooter at your workplace or an active shooter at your kid's school. It's just fucking insane. And anybody, you know, I can hear all the gun nut fucking arguments, because every time I make these videos you get the same gun nut arguments, and they don't think. They just repeat what they've read. You can tell they know nothing about the rest of the world. They know nothing about civilized countries. All they know is what they keep hearing, that you have to have a gun for your right to fight against tyrannical governments and defend yourself. Really? You know, how many people are going to... What's the chances? Look at statistics of someone actually breaking into your house and attacking you. What's the chances of that happening? Have a look at the statistics, how often that actually happens, and how many homes you've got in your country, what the chances of it happening to you are. Very remote. Put some spotlights outside your house, put some fucking screens on the windows, go to bed and sleep. You know, you can't be sitting out all night with your gun out on the porch waiting for the fucking bad guys. Fucking insane bullshit. And the other thing is, you can't defend your fucking family unless you're going to be following them around all day with a fucking gun. How are you going to defend your family against a fucking active shooter at their school or at their workplace? Your gun sitting in your pocket isn't going to defend your family from some fucking another gun nut like you coming in and killing your family when they're at work or at school. The argument is fucking bullshit. There's no argument. If there was, we'd all be doing it. Japan, Australia, all these other countries would be saying, oh, let's be like America, let's hand out the guns. But we're not, are we? The other civilized countries of the world are saying, no, we need less guns. You know, we don't need more guns, we need less guns. And there's a reason for that. Fucking insane. Anyway, the reason I make these videos is the more moderate people, or the more people who talk about this shit and swing the moderate people over, the sooner America will change the laws and start crushing guns and stop handing out guns, and people's lives will be saved. That's why I make these videos. More people need to stand up and say this same stuff. Because at the moment, the gun nuts are talking louder than everybody else. We need to ignore those pricks and stand up and talk loudly and let everybody else know that they should stand up and talk loudly too. You can change the laws and you can save some lives. Crush the guns. More videos coming soon.